Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sichos Haran share. Tonight, we're going to be doing Sikha number 53. So 53 is a piece about faith, about Emunah. So we can always use chizuk in this area. Rabbi Nachman has said in different places that the most important thing is faith. He said in Sikha 53, faith is of the greatest importance. You know, faith is something that we always need to be working on. And in a place where we could grow and grow with it. So it's funny, just this week, my friend was talking about putting her baby on a schedule. And she was saying how the babysitter is like very unhelpful because the second the baby cries right away, the babysitter runs and gives the baby food, even though she's trying to keep the baby on a schedule so that way she could sleep longer and, you know, the whole deal. So she was telling me, she's like, doesn't the babysitter understand that it would be easier if the baby was on a schedule? Like everything would be easier for everybody. And then she's like, it's really like Emunah. Like if we just would work on Emunah, then like the rewards of it would just be amazing. Like we just have this life of peace and happiness. So I was laughing when she said that because of course it's true. And it was a great mashal. So just wanted to share that with you. Okay, so let's begin. We're going to read the piece. I'm just going to pull up the share screen. Okay, sorry, just going to rotate it for you. Okay, here we go, 53. If you have faith, you are truly alive. When you have faith, every day is filled with good. When things go well, it is certainly good. But when you have troubles, it is also good. For you trust that God will eventually have mercy and the end will be good. From Devarim. Everything must be good, for it all comes from God. The life of a person who does not have faith is not really a life. When evil befalls him and he loses all hope, there is nothing to rouse or comfort him, for he has no faith. He goes without God and his providence and has no good. But if you have faith, your life will be good and pleasant. So just to recap that. So Rabbi Nachman says in the first line, if you have faith, you are truly alive. So whether in good times or bad times, life is better when you have faith. Like, you know, in times of good, like we all know the feeling of Hashem just feels like Hashem's wrapping our arms around us, you know? And in times of bad, when hard things are happening around us, you might not have that feeling, but you have this feeling that Hashem's leading you, that you're with him. And that alone is such a comfort. Rabbi Nachman then takes the piece and goes to the opposite extreme and brings out a person who doesn't have any faith. And he thinks about, and he's saying like how sad it must be to have nothing to comfort you through difficult times. To be living in this world, but not seeing anyone who's leading it, who's ruling it. You could only imagine that it's very difficult and very depressing. Rabbi Nachman ends with the line, but if you have faith, your life will be good and pleasant. So it's like that baby, putting that baby on a schedule, you know? But really, like, I think the main thing is that your life will be better, less anxiety, less pressure, less worries when you have this strong emunah. And really, the point is that the reward is so great for a person who has emunah. So I think we could all agree that emunah is huge, and it's definitely something that we want to work on. But the question is how? How do we get this faith? How do we grow in our emunah? How do we come closer to Hashem and trust that he's with us at every moment? So I asked a few people like what they thought about this. And, you know, I heard a few good suggestions. So, of course, Hisbodedus was the main one, talking to Hashem's in your own words, saying Tehillim with intention. You know, the words of Tehillim are so, so powerful. So when somebody mentioned that to me, I was thinking like, yeah, that's definitely, I could see that flying. My husband actually brought in a nice idea too. He said doing mitzvos with simcha. And actually he told me that the Arizal said that about himself that he reached his own high levels by doing this simcha shel mitzvah, about being exciting and feeling joy from doing mitzvos. So I guess lately, maybe because life is so different, I keep on being put in these situations where I see a person suffering and like suffering through Torah and mitzvos, and suffering like everything is forced and there's no chiyas, there's no life, there's no, just everything is dry and boring. And like I could see, looking at that extreme, I could see how on the opposite spectrum, like getting excited about doing mitzvos and trying to come close to Hashem through the mitzvos and feeling this simcha shel mitzvah, this happiness of doing mitzvos, how that could really take you to such high levels of faith. So I thought that was an important point to mention. So I was looking through Rebbe Nachman pieces to find the answer to this. Like, what does he say? How does a person have faith? What do we need to do? So the next piece that I wanted to bring in was from the Lekutey MaHaran. Lekutey MaHaran, it's the second one, piece number 44. So I'm just going to pull up the share screen. Okay, here we go. When a person falls from faith, God forbid, the advice for him is that he should speak words of faith with his mouth. So when a person is falling from levels of faith and he's, in this low place, so what's the advice for him? He needs to speak about faith with his mouth. In other words, he should utter a full verbal proclamation of faith. He needs to say, I believe in you, Hashem, that he believes. For the very fact that he speaks words of faith with his mouth is an aspect of faith. What is more, through this verbal proclamation, he will thereby merit to attain complete faith. So through saying these words, I believe in you, Hashem, I know you're with me through this, Hashem, through saying those things, you will attain this faith. You'll get it. For faith is dependent on a person's mouth, and it is necessary to articulate one's faith verbally, as it is written, I will make your faith known with my mouth. So that part alone is just so powerful that we just have that really speaking these words of faith, words of affirmations of believing in Hashem, that alone will bring us to these high levels of faith. So now we're just going to go to the second paragraph, 2. For this same reason, a person must be very careful never to utter words of heresy or unbelief with his mouth, God forbid, even in mockery. In other words, even if in his heart he truly believes and he's only speaking these words of heresy and unbelief in someone else's names, and he is mocking them, nonetheless, it is strictly forbidden to do so because it damages his own faith. So Rabbi Nachman is saying the opposite is true. Speaking words of faith and, having positivity will bring you to that, but speaking negatively and speaking, God forbid, against Hashem or against the Torah or against whatever we're going through, that brings us to these low levels. For it is forbidden to make jokes about God, even in jest. A person must also be extremely careful never to look at all into books that speak about philosophical investigations, because they badly damage and taint holy faith. This admonition has already been stated elsewhere, but it must be repeated time and again, so that a person will not lose his entire world, his world to come in a moment, God forbid. So Rabbi Nachman is saying that this is a point that needs to be stressed again and again. Like, we shouldn't be looking in philosophical investigations or the examples that he gave earlier, making jokes about Hashem, God forbid, or doing any of those type of stuff, because that will bring you to low levels. And he even says, take away your world to come. So, this is such a great piece because you see the power of speech. You see the importance of it and how it's not just like something that we know how to do. There's like real koach, there's real power in speech. So there's another piece that I wanted to share with everybody. And it's from also the Lekutey MaHaran. It's in the first one, and we're going to do piece number 78. So I'm going to share the screen again and rotate. Okay. This is really a beautiful piece that again shows the power of speech. Speech is also identified with the idea of the mother of children. This means that just as a mother always accompanies her children even into filthy places, and she never forgets them, similarly, a person's speech always accompanies him even into filthy places, and it constantly reminds him of God. So no matter where we go, our speech comes with us, whether we're in amazing, holy, special places, or whether we're in, God forbid, these filthy places. Our speech is with us. In other words, even if a person has descended to an extremely low level, God forbid, wherever that may be, nevertheless, through his speech, he can always remind himself of God. So we have this tool, this gift that Hashem gave us called speech. And through this speech, we could always remind ourselves of Hashem, no matter where we are. Accordingly, wherever a person may be, even if he will just fortify himself also there to at least speak some holy words of Torah or prayer or conversation between him and his Creator, or if he will converse with his Rebbe or his friends about fear and awe of God and his service, he can always remind himself of God even there in those places which are very distant from God, what are called the filthy places. This applies no matter where a person may have fallen. May God save us, because a person's speech does not allow him to forget God. So no matter where we are in the world, no matter where we have fallen, our speech will help us remember Hashem. From this, you should understand, well, the great power of speech, and this is a wondrous and awesome piece of advice for anyone who truly desires not to completely squander his life, God forbid. So it's really such I love this piece for so many reasons, but we see that our speech comes with us everywhere and can bring us to high levels. And that's really the point of it. But another, it's just so amazing that I just love the shift in this, because, we could be in one place, but our speech could take us mentally, emotionally to a different place. So powerful. We're human beings are called medaber. We're the talkers, we're the speakers, and it's not just something that Hashem just threw at us. It's, we need to use it as a tool. We need to use it to come close to Hashem. So I wanted to take a story from Chayey MaHaran, and I really think this drives home the point so perfectly. So again, we're going to go to the share screen. Okay, the hammer. A certain king sent his son far away to study. The son eventually returned to the king's palace, fully versed in all the arts and sciences. One day, the king told his son to take a particular stone that was as big as a millstone and bring it up to the top floor of the palace. But the stone was so heavy that the prince could not even lift it up. He was very upset that he could not fulfill his father's wish. Eventually, the king said to his son, "Did you really imagine that I meant you to do the impossible and carry the stone just as it is up there? Even with all your wisdom, how are you supposed to do such a thing? That was not what I meant. I wanted you to take a big hammer and smash the stone into little pieces. This is how you will be able to bring it up to the top floor." In the same way, God commands us to lift our heart with our hands up to God in the heavens. Our heart is a heart of stone, from Yechezkel, a very heavy stone. There is no possible way to raise it to God except by taking a hammer and breaking and smashing the heart of stone. The hammer is speech. So this is so great because, in order to, he's the speech here, the hammer that's going to really chop this rock down and open up our hearts is speech. It's speech. We need to talk to Hashem, and that will break up our heart and make it soft to come close to Hashem. So just to fully recap, we learned that faith is everything. It will give you a happy life. We learned that speech is the best way to increase our faith. And we learned that speech is really our tool in life and comes with us everywhere. No matter where we go, it's with us. And it can always take us to high places. And lastly, we learned from the story that speech has the power to break open our hearts and make it fitting for Hashem. So I just like to end with a bracha for everybody, that we should always say the right words, because words are powerful and we need to use them wisely. And we should use our words for good things, and our words should help us come closer to Hashem. So thank you, everybody, very much for listening, and have a good night.